What is up? Another Victory Monday. Mike, I can get used to this, man. Victory Monday every week.
It's crazy, dude. What is going on with the water here in Arizona, man? It's absolutely nuts. Hey, 7-0. Who would have thunk it, right?
It looks good on these Cardinals, doesn't it, though?
It does. It does.
So, man, this was a game that started out giving us something to be worried about. People are talking trap game, and it started out a little rough, and we'll talk about that later as to why. I think in our dud section, we'll have some conversation about why. But they pulled it together and pulled out what ended up being, a really a blowout victory, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so real quick, I want to just let everyone know in the chat, we're changing the format of this just a little bit. We're going to keep this show to right around 30 minutes. Normally, Mike sticks around for 30 minutes. Then I stick around and do a Q&A. And I do a long Q&A on Sunday nights. I know Mike has his call-in shows and stuff too. So we're going to make this just kind of a 30-minute show. So what I'd like to ask you to do if you're in the chat is if you have questions, go ahead and get them in the chat with the Q in front of them. Super chats will obviously be prioritized. We'll get to those first. We're going to do our studs and duds section, and then we'll do a Q&A. And that's going to be the latter half of the show. So, Mike, let's jump into our studs and duds. And obviously, as the guest on my channel, I always allow you to take the first pick. So, who is your first stud from the game?
First stud for me here. I got to go ahead and give it to the newest Cardinal here, our tight end, Zach Ertz. Amazing game, man. 3 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. And that touchdown was a beautiful thing. And I think they said something along the lines like that was one of his longest ones in like 7 years or something like that.
I heard it was the longest of his career.
Woo! Wow. Amazing, right? In the first game with the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray being quarterback. That's amazing. So that's my first stud, man, Zach Ertz.
Welcome to Arizona, Mr. Ertz, right? I mean, he didn't need time to integrate in, right? He immediately made an impact. Now, there was that one, the interception on Kyler was really on Ertz and, kind of a miscommunication, and he kind of owned that. But, if that was, he had one mistake in his first game. And I think that's a great call. He was on my list of people I was thinking about too. I'm going to go on the other side of the ball with a guy that, I love, Marcus Golden, two sacks, 1 for a forced fumble, now leads the team in sacks and forced fumbles. Guy loves being a Cardinal. I own a Marcus Golden jersey. Just absolutely love the guy. And he is just really, really performing for this team this year. With Chandler Jones out, it's, become that much more imperative to get pass rush from other players. So I absolutely got to give the nod to Marcus Golden there.
100% agree, man. I love Marcus Golden as well. The moment he came back, I think there was a sense of happiness in his, man. When he went over to New York, I just don't think he had that, man. He wanted to come here, and he's making a big impact.
Yeah, 100%. So who's your next stud?
Next stud for me, and I mentioned this person before, but I honestly cannot explain how much of a big impact he has on this Cardinals roster, and that's going to be James Conner. Now, he had a fairly, decent game. He had 10 carries, 64 yards, and 1 touchdown. But that touchdown was pretty magical. I think he did a very good job in making sure that touchdown went in. Now, granted, it was already when, you were kind of already beating a dead horse at that point. But I think he did a very good job. And one thing that I like to see is our Arizona Cardinals make sure that our run game gets going. I like Chase Edmonds a lot, but James Conner is my guy. I really do feel like he's got to be that 60 to the 40. I just love what he brings to the table, man.
No, I agree. And we've talked about him before, and he brings such an important element to this offense, bringing that power running game, but he also can catch the ball. Short yardage. We just didn't have a guy we could trust doing that. And that just really makes it that much tougher to stop this offense. He's just a really great piece on this offense. So 100% agree. I'm going to go with the obvious guy, but I feel like it would be kind of derelict of me not to mention Kyler Murray, having a great game. Once again, the 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 261 yards, and that interception was not on him. I've looked at the film and saw a couple people do breakdowns of that. It was like we talked about, it was Ertz. And Kyler Murray right now is second in the NFL, or according to PFF, he is second in the league in his passing grade. Number 2 in the NFL in passing grade. And what's kind of weird, and I was talking to you before the show about this, is in past seasons, Kyler's passing grade was decent in his running game. Like last year, I should say, for example, his last grade in 2020, Kyler's PFF grade for passing was 77.2, but his running grade was 86.5, which kind of buoyed his grade, brought up to 82.0 overall. Well, this year, his running grade is 46.5, and that's actually bringing his overall grade down because his passing grade is 90.6 is so freaking good.
Right.
And so Kyler continues to be the the stick that stirs this drink, whatever kind of, term you want to use. And he had yet another good game, with some questionable protection at points. Which
yes,
I think is a really great segue to our next section, which is duds. Mike, who is the number 1 dud on your list?
Well, like you said, protection was really, really questionable, very frustrating to see, especially in that first quarter. We were seeing Kyler Murray get thrown to the ground, and people basically missed tackle. It was a mess. My first dud of this week is going to have to be Max Garcia, man. We've seen it again, another botched snap where we lost 10 to 12 yards, and Kyler Murray had to jump for the ball, and he lost the yards because obviously he had to jump on top of it, and he couldn't do very much after that. So I like Max Garcia and what he's bringing, but he's some big crucial things. And this is not the first time the botch snap has happened. It's happened again as well in previous games. So I'm counting the days that we get Ronnie Hudson back, man. I really want him back. And I think we most likely will be getting him, maybe 49ers, maybe Panthers, but I know it's not going to be in this Packers game.
Yeah. And, it's tough because like Garcia, aside from the botched snaps, hasn't played horribly. He's graded reasonably well this year. His pass blocking grade overall this year is 82.7. It's actually really good, but he's had those botched snaps that put us in those second and longs, which lead to third and longs, which, that's what stalled out this offense. And I think there's perfect synchronicity here because the super chat from Matthew Runyon, thank you, Matthew, for the super chat, is also my dud. My dud is Josh Jones. He's about to get fleeced. Listen, he really struggled. Like that hit that Kyler Murray took that ended up being roughing the passer, but was still a really hard hit. That was on Josh Jones. Josh Jones, I looked at this. Yeah, his pass blocking grade for PFF was 15.4. 15.4. That is ugly. And that wasn't the only, Josh Jones looked like a turnstile out there. Coming out of college, he was a left tackle out of Houston, was, pretty decent prospect. I still have hope that he'll develop into a decent tackle. I think he's played out of position. Tackles need time to develop. I think I'd like to see them get like Sean Harlow in there and give him some chances at, he's a natural guard. But yeah, Josh Jones, and thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Really appreciate that. But it does look like, that he's just really having a hard time. They're overmatched. But of course, I have to, for Mr. Runyon, thank him with. But yes. Josh Jones is my dud from that game. Rough game. Yeah, right. That PFF grade, right? that was ugly.
Yeah. That game, it's in general, man. Seeing Kyler Murray go to the blue tent, it was kind of eye-opening. It was really worrisome, especially where I was thinking like, oh my goodness, the Texans game. Here we go. And I'm so glad that he came out. He toughed it out and he came back and put a licking on them.
Yeah, 100%. So we're gonna do for the rest of the show. We're gonna do a Q&A and comments with the folks in the chat. So if you've got questions, please get them. It's always helpful if you get a big letter Q in front of it just to help us. So to recognize those, but please get your questions in the chat. So while we're waiting, to give it a minute for those questions to kind of folks to get their questions in there, Mike. So what are your thoughts about the upcoming Packers game? And I mean, how do you feel about this going into this?
I feel good, man. I feel good, and I think this is before and even after the Devontae Adams, news that came out that he most likely won't be playing. I honestly thought that the Arizona Cardinals were going to be able to stack up very well against the Green Bay Packers. It's a kind of a trend or kind of something that we talk about a lot on my channel where, we don't get a lot of respect in the national news. And because of this Devontae Adams news kind of come around, it's going to be another kind of chip for them to use. Oh, here we go again. They only won because of this. They only won because the Rams weren't ready. The Browns were depleted. They don't really talk about, the stuff that we struggled with, because we've had people on the IR, we've had people on the list as well. And nobody's really putting any respect on our name, which I honestly don't care. I just think it's very hysterical to sit down and watch these, big stream news thinking they know about our team when in actuality they're probably just reading off a script. It's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the national kind of sports analysts and media, I do give them a slight pass, and it's this: like, you and I can focus our attention on one team, right? And they're covering like 32 teams, right? So it's like it's hard to know every team as well as someone who covers that team knows it. So, but of course, they get up there and they say whatever they're going to say, their hot takes and stuff. And I'm not a fan of hot takes, so. They say those things because they get ratings, right? And we know that.
Yeah, 100%.
And of course, if you don't have good information, or if you don't have knowledge or information about something, you're just going to pull from stereotypes. That's what humans do, right? Getting into a little psychology here, but like if they don't know the team well, what's the stereotype of the Cardinals? Same old Cardinals, losing franchise. So they're going to go with that. They're not going to believe it. The tide is starting to turn, though, right? So we've got a question here from our both of our buddies, Len and Wolf. What do you think Kyler will do against the Packers? What are you expecting from Kyler against the Packers?
I mean, in terms of stats, yeah, I think Kyler Murray just have another Kyler Murray game. I mean, he's not really disappointed us at all year. I mean, yes, he's had, interceptions, but I mean, it comes with the game. I know Zach Ertz, blamed himself, and you said you looked at the film and you do think that it was Zach Ertz that was. I think one thing about that whole situation, being that Zach Ertz just came in to this organization, he already put the blame on himself, and I think Kyler Murray did the same thing. I love it, man. I like that. There's no fault. I feel like let's get better. Regardless of whose fault it is in this interception, it's still going to affect Kyler Murray's stats. But at the end of the day, as long as we get the win, we get the win. But I like that. I think it's very selfless of Zach Ertz to come in and automatically be humble.
Yeah, absolutely. Take that one for the team, so to speak. Yeah, I think this could be a really big Kyler Murray game, because this is a team that could, we haven't had a shootout really this year, except for except the Minnesota game. You could maybe say that, but like, this could be a team that, their defense is struggling. They're missing their best cornerback, Jair Alexander. They're missing potentially some other players. So this could be one of those games where we're putting up a lot of points, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and maybe Kyler puts up a lot with that, So got a couple questions about that. What's the odds that Devontae Adams plays this Thursday? I mean, they put him on the COVID list. So I don't, I'm assuming he's vaccinated. I don't know for sure. Most players are, but some aren't. And if you are, then we all know the rules, hopefully by this point, that you need two negative tests that are at least 24 hours apart. So if you do the math, I mean, he'd have to have a negative test like today or tomorrow. And then I would guess if he's on that list, I think it's not a great chance. I think he's probably going to be out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you also got to think about, because this is in State Farm Stadium, so the team's probably going to leave on Wednesday, maybe
that's true.
Tuesday night. Who knows? So he's got the 24 hours like each, but they need to come over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he can't travel with the team like that, and probably
travel with the team.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So I would guess he's out, right?
Yeah,
for sure. So. And then someone told me that the Packers had any more positive COVID tests, they might have to forfeit the game. I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong. I feel like, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I feel like I do know that there's, or at least I have heard from that reputable reporting, There are, if you have enough COVID cases in your building,
right,
players and staff combined, they will impose more rigid protocols, social distancing, masks.
right.
But as far as forfeiting the game, I'd have to imagine, like, as long as you, and I maybe correct me if anyone knows that I'm wrong, as long as you can field a team, pulling up guys from the practice squad, putting people
That's
on the
what I
COVID
thought.
list. If you can field a team, I mean, remember last year the Broncos played without a quarterback, right? I mean, so they had a practice squad wide receiver who played some quarterback like in college.
Right.
Who was their quarterback?
I think the only reason why they would forfeit it is that, and I think that's what they were saying a little earlier before the season started, is that if they had unvaccinated players and they refused the vaccine, and I think at that point, if there was a breakout, then they would forfeit it. But I think, like you said a little earlier, most of them are vaccinated because of, what's at stake. It's a big thing, man. If you forfeit a game, especially a big game like this, where the Packers can very well maybe not get the number 1 seed, but, be there in that contention with the Arizona Cardinals, because in my mind, man, we the best right now.
Right. So I don't think that's a real concern or question, but I don't know. Mike, I'll let you take the first crack at this question. Is there a potential rivalry building versus the Packers and Cardinals considering recent history? There have been some good games, right?
There has been. I don't know. Whenever I think of rivalries, I just think of my like the division. Honestly, just because we see them every single year. Yeah, we could say so. I mean, that would be really cool to have, the Aaron Rodgers Murray rivalry. Because I mean, when I think of Aaron Rodgers, I still see maybe 3 more solid years, 4 more solid years. That's pushing it. But I don't know. I don't see it as a rivalry personally. In my personal opinion, I think more of the NFC West as my rivals. But I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to establish a rivalry if there isn't that interdivision kind of history, right? If they're in your division or used to be in your division, right? Because you have some teams that have that going on. So I don't think so, and then I guess there's a third type of rivalry, which is like a geographic rivalry, right? Teams that are close to each other, but not in the same division. I don't think there's enough there to make what people would say is a rivalry, but there sure is a really great history, I would say, to those games. 100%.
I agree. Well, now let me think about the Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. I see that as a friendly rivalry. You know what I mean? And they don't play with each other, but I see that as a friendly. So I could definitely see where he's coming from, but not the Packers. In my mind, it's got to be Baker Mayfield. Even if Baker goes to another team, Baker Mayfield and Kyler. That's the rivalry to me.
100%. Now, just a couple of follow-ups saying Adams is in protocol. I heard he's on the COVID list.
I heard COVID that too.
Reserve list, which is my understanding is if you tested positive. And I could be wrong though. Again. So, okay, let's see. Here's not the best of questions. There's no bad questions in here. If you were a fan of AZ in 2009, I know I was. I'm guessing you were too, Mike, right?
I was, yeah.
Did your heart stop as many times as mine did? The Rodgers, Mary, so keeps me up at night. So that was the Packers game with the Hail Mary, and then I think we came back to win that game, right, in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while, but wasn't that on the way to the Super Bowl? That was the Super Bowl year, right?
You got to get me. I got to look at their stuff because when I think of the Hail Mary, I'm thinking of the most recent one. I'm thinking of 2015 when Larry Fitzgerald did his thing, but he might have had another Hail Mary.
Maybe, yeah. I think there's a couple of those. Here's what I'll tell you. Here's what keeps me up at night. The Super Bowl, the interception. But was it James Harrison?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, that dude is not even, like, a defensive back. This is a big line. This guy's like, and I say this with this guy's like Marcus Golden.
Yeah.
A big power rusher. And he ran it back, 90-something yards? I'm like, just tackle him. That is the thing that gives me nightmares from 2009.
San Antonio Holmes, 2 feet. That game, that gives me nightmares, bro. Like, to the day, man. I really thought Larry Fitzgerald, the moment he parted that sea of the 2 Steelers and he just went for it right in the middle, I was like, we're gonna win this. And then, of course, Ben Roethlisberger crushed our dreams.
Right. Let's see. Do you think we will wear the color? I guess he's answering. Do you think we'll wear the color rush unis? Low key scared if so because we always lose when we wear those. What do you think, Mike?
I hope so. I feel like that would be cool. I like the color rush, honestly. I think they're a really, really cool jersey. I hope so. Most likely we'll get more of an answer maybe by Wednesday more than anything. But
Yeah.
I hope so. I like them.
Yeah, that's fine. We need new jerseys. We need new uniforms. That's all I
agree,
know.
man.
So
I
want to throw a shout out. Thank you for the super chat. We went to the NFC Championship year. Rogers Mary. Okay, so yeah. So was that 2015 or 2009? Because I do remember that was that 2015 with that.
That's what I was thinking. And I was like, that was recent. In 2009, I remember we got knocked out by the Saints because 2008 is when we went to the Super Bowl, obviously. And then 2009, we were going to the playoffs with Kurt Warner, but we got knocked out by the Saints. And the Saints went all the way, and they won the Super Bowl. So I don't remember Rodgers doing that in 2009, but I could be wrong. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good question. If we got a historian here who can set us straight, right?
But please do.
Of course, I've got to say. Thank you, Illadre. Appreciate you. All right, got another question. Let you start. Who are the Cardinals' biggest rival? And great follow-up question.
Ooh, that's a
great
question. That's a fantastic question. Being that the Arizona Cardinals really haven't been competitive for the past 5 years, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Rams just because how this has become so far. Like the Rams right now are the people to beat in my personal opinion. So I'm gonna say Rams, although it's like very baby rivalry, and I hope it blossoms into something beautiful later on. Because Matthew Stafford, I think Kyler Murray is obviously better. So I'm gonna say Rams now, but just keep in mind I'm just going based off of this year.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I feel like the Cardinals up into this year haven't earned the right to call themselves anyone's rival. And I got it. You got to be competitive. Yeah. But if I go based on the best history of tough games, and I'm going to say it's Seattle, because I think there were a couple years where no one was winning in Seattle, and we went up there and beat them at home. True. Right? The Cardinals beat them at home in games when they were like winning every other home game. So I think that's the team within the division we have the best history with to say there's a rivalry. So that's going to be – now, I tell you, though, there's the potential for a really great rivalry between the Rams and the Cardinals moving forward, right? Because if these are the two best teams in the division for years to come, geographically they're kind of close to each other, right? Both southwest part of the U.S., yeah. And there is that kind of salty history that we finally beat Sean McVay after going 8-0, right? So that adds just a little extra something to it. So I think it would not shock me if 5 years from now that was a very healthy rivalry.
Exactly. And another thing that I kind of go based off, especially here in Arizona, man, anybody who's been born and bred here in Arizona, we don't like any LA team. Like LA, no, thank you. Dodgers, Lakers, get out of here. We don't.
I know you had a T-shirt for that, right? So
I did. Yep.
Oh, I hate the Lakers with a passion. Illustrate, thank you again for the super chat and for the answer. 2015. That's what I thought that was. Yeah, that's the Hail Mary. I feel like 2009. I felt like didn't we play Carolina and Philadelphia through the playoffs? I think those
2009. You said.
Yeah. 2009, our Super Bowl run, I feel like we beat Philadelphia, Carolina, and maybe someone else on the way there.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting my years confused. Yeah, you're right. So 2008 to 2009, you're correct. I was talking about 2009 to 2010 because we did go to and that's when we got knocked out by the Saints.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Lennon, yes, I am a huge Suns fan. I just do Cardinals content on my channel because I just kind of keep it. That's with the niche I'm going with. I've been a Suns fan forever. I was a Suns fan when Kevin Johnson, Tom Chambers, Dan Marley, old school. Love the Suns 100%. Absolutely. So let's see if we got any other questions in here. Yeah, that James 100% that James Harrison highlight, right? Gives you PTSD. And everyone, please hit the like button. Thank you, Mark, for reminding everyone. Really appreciate that. That definitely helps with the algorithm, helps people learn about my channel. 100%.
I have a question for you, man, just kind of out of the blue. Russell Wilson. Yeah. And I know this has nothing to do with the Arizona Cardinals. Do you think he's coming back next year, man? I mean, this is the first time we've seen him get hurt. I mean, obviously that's not his fault. He hit his head, but there's a lot of speculations that he might be traded out. And imagine, because then kind of going back to my rivalry situation where it might be LA and Cardinals for years to come, because is Russell Wilson really coming back with all that issues that was going on in the offseason?
That's a
What are
great
your
question
thoughts?
because, he wanted them to fix the offensive line and protect him.
Mhm.
That's really what they wanted. They brought in some guys. I haven't looked at it closely enough to know how they're performing.
Right.
Obviously, he got injured, though, with his
Yeah.
finger going sideways.
Mhm.
That's a great question. I think if it's up to the team, they're going to have him back. I think
Yeah.
you just, with the way quarterbacks can play late in their career, you see what Tom Brady is doing. You just,
True.
if you got that guy, you hold on to him. My guess is I think he'll be back. I think they'll continue to try to make it right. I do think he'll be back. That's the short answer. But
Right.
I get why you're asking, though, right?
Yeah.
100%.
There's a good question by Troy Tries Everything.
I was just looking at that. Absolutely. Yeah, that caught my eye. So I'll let you hit that first.
So I know on my channel, I believe it was a couple days ago, or it might have been Sunday night, yesterday. Somebody said something along the lines of there was an ESPN mock trade over, like they wanted to like give us like Jabril Peppers safety for like a 6th round pick.
Yeah, it was what's his name? Yeah, now his name forgot. Yeah, guy on ESPN. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm not about that life. Honestly, if we were to do something, and I don't think we're gonna do, and if it's something, it's gonna be something very minimal, because I think our team is ready to compete. Like our team is freaking ready to go. Steve Keim did a great job. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Cardinals aftermath. Steve Keim did a fantastic job this year, and I got to give him kudos here. So, if it's something, it's going to be minimal. I think if we do maybe get some cornerback help, we don't need it, but it would be kind of nice to maybe get another player, somebody very cheap, obviously maybe 5th, 4th, maybe 6th round, something like that, or maybe another defensive line piece. That's where I can see where we go for. But what about you, man? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's any big moves coming. I think, and I think actually there's this question here that I think is a great connection to this because I think the one move I've heard in reports, and you've probably heard too, is Andy Isabella. There was the talk that the Lions may be interested in him, and then I saw another report that multiple teams were calling about him. Now, there's definitely a part of me that wonders if Steve Keim leaked that to try to drum up interest. I'm saying, hey, everyone's calling about Andy Isabella. But right. I wouldn't be shocked if they moved him. And yeah, someone asked when is the trade deadline? It's November 2nd. I don't think there's any big moves. I don't think they're going after a big cornerback. I know fans have been like clamoring for the Cardinals to go after and trade for a number 1 cornerback. And I've been pretty consistent that I didn't want them to do it, and I don't think they need to. And the cornerbacks have been playing really well.
They have been.
Robert Alford needs some love, too. I almost had Robert Alford as one of my studs just because, he's our highest-graded cornerback. He's been a solid number 1 cornerback, unheralded, and has been super steady. But I don't think a big trade is coming. I think they might. I think they might unload Isabella for some draft capital, or maybe get a player at a position of need, kind of a low cost veteran. But I think this roster's stacked. I think they like the roster. I think they feel like they can win a Super Bowl with this roster, and I think they're right.
I agree.
So yeah, now we got about 2 more minutes or so. So if you got any questions, get them in there. We're gonna if you missed at the beginning of the show. We're going to make this a 30-minute show every week, so we're going to do our studs and duds, and most of the show then will be the Q&A. So we've got a couple questions that just popped in. Sorry, Simon, channel member, thank you for being a member. Did you ever believe that the Cards went from West in 2019, now the best in 2021? Is this one of the best turnarounds in recent memory? Mike, what do you think?
I don't really know any of the history of any other team, honestly. I'm assuming there might have been some teams that went from like the bottom of their division to like the top. But in terms of like the worst team in the NFL, because we had the first overall pick and getting Kyler Murray, I'm assuming somebody else did it as well. I don't know. 2019 seems like a very long time ago to me. I don't know why, but hey, yeah, kudos, man. Kudos to. I honestly think that this last year is when it really counted. Yeah, we're getting some little pieces there, here and there, but this is when it really kind of made the difference this last offseason.
I'd have to look to know. In my mind, like when you look at what teams had big turnarounds. Well, the Colts, the year they drafted, Andrew Luck, because the year before, Peyton Manning was injured, and then then he left, and they were playing, who knows who at quarterback, and they lost a ton of games. Then they drafted Andrew Luck, and they got better pretty quick. But if this team goes to a Super Bowl and wins, I can't think of another team that went from last place to Super Bowl in like 2 years, 3 years.
Right. And in
maybe
last
there's
place in
someone
terms
out
of
there.
the NFL, right? Like, because
Right.
first overall. Yeah.
Right. So we'll see, right? 100%. So I heard, Shaquille Griffith, one of the Griffin twins. I know they had him in for a tryout. I don't know if they signed him. So I don't know if they signed him, but he was a twin brother of the, he was drafted by the Seahawks, right? Everyone probably remembers, and they made, they kind of had some really interesting stuff about that. So let me hit say hey to a few more people. We're going to wrap up in just a minute here. Thank you everyone for being here. Carlos Murs. Okay, I'm not going to try to butcher your thing. Hey, Carlos, November 2nd, your birthday. Happy birthday. Hopefully, yeah.
Nice.
Mark sending out some love. Thank you, Mark, for being. I know you're really a great supporter of both of our channels. I know we both appreciate you a lot. Thank you. If Kyler stays healthy, Kyle will win Executive of the Year. Mike knows I love to kind of rib him on this. But I just enjoy. But Mike will tell you he'll take it if it means we're winning.
100%.
Right? But big play say thanks for being here. And I think we'll end on this last. We got 2 questions. We'll hit these quick, okay? If it was up to you, who would you re-sign, Kirk or AJ Green?
Kirk.
If you have to pick one, I mean, Kirk is younger, so that's probably the argument for AJ Green, though, is we've got Rondale Moore in the slot who's going to be that guy that Kirk is. But I think you have to go with the younger guy. And then we'll end with this last question. The Suns went to the finals and lost. Mercury also went to the finals and lost. Hudson will be at Cars make the championship game and lose. Why do you got to bring that mojo in here? Why do you got to bring that bad juju, Wolf? Come on, Wolf. Why you got to bring that bad juju in here? All right. What do you say?
I'm not even going to answer this, but I don't want to answer this one. You go.
Okay. I'd be very disappointed. Obviously, you'd be glad to see him there.
Yeah.
But at this point, the way your expectations shape how you feel about things, and our expectations are high now. This team has now lifted those expectations. So anything less than a Super Bowl win is going to be disappointment at this point, right? Yeah. I gotta say, Austin sending some love. You both for streaming this, my 2 favorite Arizona sports streams. Thank you for being a supporter. Well, everyone, listen. I know we're going with a shorter format here, but this is what we're going to probably do moving forward. Mike's got a young baby. I got family, kids, and we both do some longer streams throughout the week. So, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate, and I know I speak for Mike when I say that you guys make this so worthwhile for us. We both. I know Mike feels the same way. We both draw immense joy from being able to talk Cardinals with other Cardinals fans. So thank you guys for being here. You guys make the show. We appreciate you. And I'm going to do one last thing that I do in all my live streams. Thank my channel members. Shout outs to all my channel members on my Ring of Honor and starting lineup. Thank you for your support. Have a number of you joined. Mike, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I'm just excited, man. Let's get this Packers game going. Thursday Night Football.
100%. Looking forward to the game. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We will see you all next week, and we'll see both of us on our channels throughout the week. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.